Well, hello, hello. How are you doing today?
Wow, Paul, you have such an interesting backdrop.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've got
Your
a
own art.
yeah, we're trying to make life a little bit more colorful. Got a couple by Autumn, one by Joe Chavez there. So,
That's so cool.
Nice.
Wow.
Very
You
nice.
really shamed the rest of us. Erlinger, you look like you have a nice apartment. I look like I'm in a fucking house.
Where in the world are you?
I'm in London. I'm in my like self-tape studio attic death place where all of my dreams come to die, So
Oh. Well,
And I'm in Reykjavik, in my apartment. Yes.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this movie. I watched it and just thought, wow, this is like the kind of stuff that the 80s and 90s kind of like sinister, but yet still not just super enjoyable, fun movies that we missed. And so you must be thinking this is kind of what I want to unveil to the world right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm super excited to finally get it out to a larger audience. It's been kind of coming out in a few different countries over the past months, but America obviously is the kind of main market. So it's yeah, I'm super excited to have it be accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
you're
And
right. It is so fun. I watched it again last night and I really had forgotten like it is really scary and creepy and has all of that kind of gothic aspect of it, but it is also like it yeah like it's really fun and like sometimes at some points kind of like quite silly but in a really good way, if that makes sense. That yeah, I just like I really loved watching it, and especially like the way that it like Erlinger's direction is so beautiful that it really like it has all of that kind of like specificity and nuance and subtlety, but also these kind of like big like grandiose moments that make it like just like a yeah like a really really fun watch for me at least.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
somebody came up to me like after we had a screening here in Iceland like a few weeks ago, and somebody came up to me afterwards and said like this feels like a movie I saw like on a VHS tape when I was a kid, and like it was so fun to watch it again even though they hadn't seen it. And I was like, yeah, that's actually kind of awesome to hear because that's kind of the feeling I think I was trying to get at without even realizing it.
But you
mhm.
had lots of influences, right, Erlinger, from those like that like 80 and 90s period.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's the stuff that I grew up with. So, A Nightmare on Elm Street, like Hellraiser, all those films were they're like seeped into my brain. So, even if I wasn't consciously maybe riffing on some of them, I'm sure like, I was in the end.
Yeah. Who was the actress you were telling me? It was so long ago now that I can't really completely remember, but that we were when we were doing the like that end kind of sequence, and I'm like on my knees like begging, and there was like a reference that was. Do you remember what the reference was?
Oh my God.
No, ignore me then. I'm sorry. If yeah, I thought it might be like I was like I can't remember. Can you remember? You're like no.
I'm sure it'll come to me. Right now I'm blanking out, but
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I know he grew up with a lot of those, great, classic horror movies, but are you a big horror fan yourself, Sarah?
I get very scared very easily. Like very
Yeah.
easily scared. My boyfriend was in The Conjuring, one of the Conjuring movies, and I remember when we watched it, we watched a screener and I like had my hands over my eyes because I was like, oh, I like this, and he was like, no, I need to know what your real reaction is. So I really love acting in them. Like I find I guess because like the reason I got into acting was I it's where I feel like I get to be all of my emotions. Like I feel most alive when I like get to like really live in those spaces. And so for me, like horror is like the perfect genre because the stakes are so high and it really is kind of like life or death. And they're much less scary when you do them because ultimately like there's a crew and they like people take the masks off and it's not real. We just play and pretend. But yeah, watching them, I truly find them terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we of course, we can't talk about this sadly without mentioning Julian, who's such a fantastic guy, and we had him here several times, and always a pleasure, always a joy. And I think this is a great film to see him, and especially as someone who is, grew up as a fan of those kind of Warlock and those kind of things, right? That to be able to work with them, you must have some. We'll talk about the good memories, on the set with him, just because he's so fantastic, right?
Yeah, I mean, he came in with such a, an amazing energy and, of course, like, decades worth of experience. And I just remember, like, even from the first meeting that we had, that I had with him, which was, on Zoom before he came to Sofia, he told me, like, the way he likes to work is to, embark upon an adventure. Like, he wants to do things that excite him and feel like adventures. And he felt like, coming to Sophia and working on this script and working with me and with the cast and the crew was one of those adventures. And I think, and it was quite an adventure making this movie. It was a roller coaster ride just in of itself. But I remember just always, like, when I was super stressed, or, when something, came up on set, I would just kind of look at him and he would kind of give me this little kind of glance and just be like, remember, like, we also need to have fun. We also need to, like, remember that this is an adventure that we're on together. And that always calmed me down quite a bit.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he had a really childlike quality in that sense. Like, even when do you remember he was talking about that movie where that he'd been in quarantine for like 28 days to
Right.
do
For
2 days on
forever.
a
Yeah.
movie. Yeah. But he was like, he has he had that real sense of, like, yeah, just like the wonderment of, like, the fact that we get to play make believe. And that is something that I think is so often lost in our industry when you think about, like, constantly thinking about budgets and schedules and everything. And he really had just that, like, that childlike wonder, which was just really infectious and kind of beautiful to be around.
Yeah. Well, and he has, of course, those great intense moments where he just, gets so fired up. But then, having it was just spend time around him, that he has just this beautiful, warm, charming quality to him as well. So that must have been funny to see him go, okay, here we go, and then get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would just switch on a dime and, then we would go out to dinner afterwards and he would, tell everybody these wild stories that
The
he's,
stories were
experienced.
insane. The
I know
stories were
he
so
had a
mad.
life. He had a life.
Yeah. It made me, in sometimes in my life, I think, it's a real shame that not that much has happened. I'm like, I don't think I have that many exciting stories to tell. Listening to Julian, I was like, that's almost too many stories.
Well, in telling these stories, people look up at the screen and they think, oh, this is what I want to do, because you guys make it look like the most fun job in the world. And, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's hard. So what kind of advice would each of you offer to someone that wants to follow in your footsteps and go into this crazy world?
Do you want to start, Charlotte, or?
Yeah, you know what? For me, the most important thing is to find your community and to find the love of play. Like, I think there's so much we get caught up in the industry side of it, and we lose the joy of messing. Like especially acting isn't something that you can really do on your own. And, like, for young actors, I'm just like, and I also think, especially like over COVID, we all got kind of like trapped in our bedrooms, where I still am. But, like, the more that you can, like, go to class, like, find your friends and just, like, mess around, make silly little films yourself, like, film yourselves doing silly improvs, like, that's where the joy and and then, like, yeah, the play like aspect. That's what made Julian so brilliant, is that he had that curiosity and that wonder, that childlike wonder, that he then brings into his work, and it makes him such a free, incredible artist. And yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with all of that. I think, as if I would meet somebody who wants to go into, directing or writing, I think really just kind of, follow your passions, go with your instincts and trust yourself, because, you're going to get a lot of questions and there's going to be a lot of doubt and there's going to be a lot of, pressure from many people to do things a certain way. And I think you have to kind of remain focused on, what's the film that you want to make, what's the, what are your passions, what do you want to see kind of come out of it, and kind of just remember that, if people have decided to work with you, it's, for a reason, for a good reason, and not to lose sight of that.
Yeah, well said. Now, in my co-host in American football here is Drew Pearson, and is one of our Dallas Cowboys greats. Caught the Hail Mary, went into the Hall of Fame, and we all know the Hail Mary term now. You just kind of backs against the wall. You just kind of have to go for it. And so he wanted me to make sure that I asked both of you your Hail Mary moment, which is that moment in your life or career where you just had no other choice. You just had to go for it. And I'm curious to know what that was for each of you.
I've never heard that term before. A Hail
Yeah.
Mary moment. Hang on, what does
Yeah.
it involve? Where you were just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna try.
Exactly. That's exactly
Okay,
it.
Erlinger, you go first.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think I'll take it kind of back to the beginning a little bit. Like I think for me, the first Hail Mary that I did was, I come from Iceland, which is small island in the middle of nowhere, and I always wanted to go to America to go to film school, and I grew up on American films, and I wanted to kind of get into that industry without, I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody. So my kind of original Hail Mary, I think, was just kind of starting to apply to film schools, like hoping against hope that, I would get in somewhere. And then when I did get in, just kind of leaving my home, leaving my family, and kind of, testing the waters, and going on this adventure. It paid off. I mean, paid off in the way, I still need to pay off my debts from going to film school. But in terms of just, starting a career, I think it was definitely the right decision. And, so that was, a Hail Mary in its own way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, probably there was a point, I think, right at the beginning. I went to Oxford and I studied French and Spanish, and I had a year out. And basically everyone else, what you should have done is like go and study at a French or Spanish university. And I was so like, fuck it, I want to be an actress, that I enrolled in this like French clowning course in Paris that like definitely didn't help my literary degree. I somehow managed to stint it, and I was like, it's very good for me to practice spoken French, but it was like mass. I was doing mime. Like the whole point about mime is that it was like there's something called parole nécessaire, like only speak when it's necessary. Which is kind of mad, given that I was like there to try and perfect my French. But it was a kind of a real moment where I was just like, fuck it, like I'm gonna trust that I'll be able to like study my French enough in the. I also didn't go to Spain. Like I did a Spanish degree, and I was like, I won't go to Spain because I'm just want to do this like French acting course. I think my Spanish language probably did suffer for a bit, but it was just that kind of when it was one of those moments where I was like, I just have to give this a go and see how it goes. And thankfully, it kind of worked out. My parents might disagree, but I think it's worked out.
Definitely it's worked out. But we talk about that on the show as well, that sort of success mindset that you have to put yourself in, even if you're almost tricking yourself sometimes, that you have to just stay positive and kind of stay on top of it. Is there something that each of you tell yourself that kind of keeps you on the right path even when things are tough?
These are such interesting questions.
Thank you.
Erlinger, do you want to go first? Because I give me a moment to think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very common in our industry that, that kind of imposter syndrome feeling, when you feel like, oh, everybody around me has more experience or knows what they're doing, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But again, I think it kind of goes back to my thing earlier. It's like you kind of have to just trust in yourself, and trust that, there's something, within you that is, you are important, you are necessary, you are all of that. Um, and because, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you. You have to be the first person to kind of, have that confidence. And sometimes it's very hard, but I don't know if it gets easier with time, but I think you kind of learn how to kind of trick yourself into to kind of making everybody else feel the same way. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I have a specific thing that I do, but I think after being in this industry, not very long maybe, but like for a little bit, I think um, I'm pretty happy with the stuff that I've done, and the people that I've met, and the projects that I've kind of
You've also
gotten off
done
the ground.
great
So
stuff. Like Erlinger's first film. Did you see his first film? Is it Rift, right?
Rift,
Yeah,
yeah.
Rift is like fucking amazing as a like a debut piece. Like if that were my first piece, I'd be like, I don't need to worry anymore. There's like you've had a beautiful ascension through the industry. So I don't think you're actually entitled to answer that question earlier.
Well, thank you very much. But sometimes I don't feel that way. But it's nice to hear that. So thank you.
Yeah.
No, for me, I genuinely do feel like my career is dying about like 4 times a year. I'm like very convinced. And my boyfriend's always like, no, you always say that. And then it just kind of keeps trucking on. But truthfully, like whenever there's like there's constantly moments where I'm like, this industry is a minefield and no one's guaranteed a career. Like, and it there's so much of it that is out of your control, and mostly when I'm feeling down on that kind of stuff, I just go back to the love of doing it. It's like for me it's just really about like I fucking love acting, like, and anyone who gives me an opportunity to do that, whether it's in an audition or a film or a class or just like a skit that I'm doing with my boy, like an improv I'm doing with my boyfriend for fun, like I have such pure joy doing that then the rest of it is kind of immaterial. Like if the industry rewards that, then great, but if it doesn't, as long as I can still afford to live, then I'm okay. Like I'm ultimately doing something that makes me so full of joy, and that's a massive privilege, like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And of course, at this one, even though I'm sure it wasn't easy at all times, looked like it was a whole lot of fun to make. Just the sets and just some of the practical effects, those kind of things must have been like a lot of fun. So is there a moment on the set that each of you think you'll always remember? Just looking around, going, "All right, this was a good day."
I actually felt that looking at lots of the dailies. Like I'm not I didn't actually watch, like, but like seeing like Daniel Katz, who is our cinematographer, who was so fucking brilliant. Like I actually think probably one of the best cinematographers I've ever worked with. Like looking at like the shots that he was creating was so just like even like now when I watch the film, like I think they're spellbinding. Like some of the, like, I mean both of you obviously, but like the way it's like the it's shot in a really interesting, beautiful way, that kind of like, yeah, I just found really spellbinding. So like for me, that's always the fascinating bit when you're there on set and you're in a set that's built, and then you look on the camera and you're like, holy shit, I had no idea that they were going to use light that way, and like it's all kind of like the like frac I don't know the terms, but it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was very, lucky to find Daniel Katz, and kind of convince him to be a part of this. I think, yeah, that's one of the great gets of the
Yeah.
film. And also like, he, we didn't have a lot of time to shoot this film, so that's, it's like double impressive because, we had to shoot so much every day. It was total madness, that kind of, so many moving parts and a lot of kind of, a lot of extras in the symphony orchestra, and, all these things that, when you're like scheduling, like, oh, we're going to have enough time to do all of this stuff. And then when you get to the set and you have to wrangle all these pieces, it takes forever. But I think one of my memories that I will always remember is it was a very small thing, but it was such a beautiful thing. So it was when we were filming with the symphony orchestra, and we were just, I don't remember if it was the first day or the second day, but, early on, and we were just having a break. We're, trying to figure out, where to put the camera next. And, we had the kids on set and they were just kind of, running around with the orchestra. And somebody in the orchestra just started playing like the love theme from Star Wars. And then like more and more kind of started joining in. And it's just like everybody, stood still for a moment and just listened to the music. And I just remember looking at the kids and they were just like totally spellbound by what was happening. It was just like, that's the, the power of making movies and also the power of music. It was just such a wonderfully beautiful kind of small moment, and then and then the chaos continued. But for a
Yeah.
little, a few minutes, we all kind of just listened, and we were there together, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, last thing before I let you go, I can't wait to see what both of you have next for us. So what do you have coming up that we can know about?
I actually have a show coming out today.
Good.
Oh, it's coming out today. Oh my God.
Today.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's on BritBox in the US. Actually, it came out yesterday on BritBox. It's called Catch Me a Killer, and it's a 10-part true crime, which is actually super cool. It's like set in 1990s South Africa, and it's about the first female profiler that is like brought in to help catch serial killers.
Oh, that's great.
Looks amazing. I watched the trailer when you posted it, and it looks really, really cool. And it's like
Much
exactly
better
the
than
stuff
the
that I
trailer.
love
I actually
watching.
think,
So.
I think it's much better than the trailer. I think I'm not actually thinking
Okay.
the show is great.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, like I did a film right after the Piper in Iceland that came out here in Iceland like a few months ago. It's kind of weird having two films coming out at the same time, but the Icelandic film, it's called Cold. And it's also it's a horror movie, but it's a very different it's more kind of grounded in reality than I think the Piper has a lot of kind of fantastical elements, and Cold it's much more kind of grounded, and it was super successful here in Iceland. It was like #1 film here for 4 weeks in a row, and it was like right behind Oppenheimer for the whole year, which was
Oh, that's
insane
amazing.
to me. It's
Can we watch it
insane.
here?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, we're just kind of starting our festival run internationally. So hopefully it'll be, it's playing in
On
Glasgow
Netflix.
tonight, actually.
Oh, really? That's cool. I don't live there, but
yeah.
it's a long way for me to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that'll, be in a city near you in the coming months, but I don't have any specific details, but eventually it'll be available for everybody. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that I can really talk about at the moment.
I would also love to work with Erlingur again. So if he has anything, then
likewise.
Please sign us
Likewise.
up together, and then we can do something again fun.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, thank you guys for giving us such a fun, enjoyable, classic horror film that we needed right about now. A good distraction. And definitely appreciate your time today and all the great answers, and look forward to talking to both of you again very, very soon.
No, and your questions have been so great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you asking interesting things.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon. Okay, thanks so much.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.